Reagan, I am a beer deep, but I'm in Nashville, so it's okay. It is only one. We were at Old Red's for lunch in Nashville, and so I we had this big old platter of like, nothing but just, so I might have the meat sweats a little bit with a beer. But it was good, I gotta say. When there was like live music going on and it's was just like how better is it to have a storyteller's guy with three guitar players going through just like awesome music rolls while you're sitting there having lunch at Old Red. So yeah, I can't really beat it. Nashville's kind of a cool spot.
Do you go to Nashville a lot?
No, I've been to the airport like three times. This is the first time that we've actually been able to go like come down to Nashville. It was a blast. We got here yesterday, flew in Sunday after Dorchester on Saturday. And we were at Postie's last night, Post Malone's bar, which was kind of fun, and there was a great band that was playing there, so we were there for a little bit. We came back, it was like 10:30, which was like 7:30 or 8:30 our time at home, and I went right to bed. So that was good. So I woke up this morning and I'm hitting Vicky like, let's go walk around, let's go do stuff. After I've been emailing a bunch of people and I realized, oh, it's only 4 in the morning over there.
Email, I feel like not as bad. You can kind of send
No.
emails anytime, and people will look in there. It's texts where I
Yeah.
sometimes I forget if I'm off, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, what time is it? Where I just sent
Well,
that?
then my
Ooh,
phone rings and Jason Williams is blowing me up and it's 6 a.m. at his time. And I'm like, what are you doing calling me at 6 a.m.?
he's
So
an
yeah,
early bird.
I believe so. He appears to be, but we're over here. It's kind of fun. I am the here for a conference. It's a mini conference, but it's a bunch of footloose and fancy free guys like me around the country. And our texting platform company that I use for a bunch of my candidates. I don't know how many of the other consultants in Oregon use them, but they and a couple other vendors basically, right, that love to wrangle money out of us. They they said, "Hey, wouldn't it be great if we had guys like you come together in Nashville and just talk about what's your best practices going into the fall? Like, what are you
Mm.
thinking? What are you seeing?" And then tomorrow they have a some of the team that was working on a lot of the Virginia races is going to come and give us the keynote on basically how badly they screwed up in Virginia, so we can try not to do that in every state across the country. So I'm looking forward to it. I'll be back Wednesday, so it's kind of a quick trip, but people have primaries all over the place, right? For like 6 months, there's primary season that happens throughout the country, really. So just depends on where you are. So it was just kind of the time frame that landed. So I just had to zip out of there and come here and it was kind of fun. Drag Vicky along. She thought it would be kind of fun. And so, but we had a good time. We walked around most of the day today and we'll start our conference tonight, all day tomorrow. Vicky's going to continue to shop tomorrow, I think. Hopefully it doesn't kill me. And then, while I do my conference and then we're out of here Wednesday flying back and then
There you
it's
go.
full on to the finish, right?
Quick trip. Good little quick trip. Even though if you're working still, it doesn't feel as much like working.
No, we were sitting there at lunch, and of course, I have to, I'm on my phone answering a bunch of emails and text messages and stuff. But that's okay. I mean, it's part of it. I wanted to do it because what's truly important isn't the primary, it's the general. So at
Right.
the end of the day, I mean, we get caught up in the primary stuff, and I think a little bit of that. I witnessed some of that kind of at Dorchester this weekend. I was only there Saturday. I had too much work to do Friday to go and hang out and play golf all day and stuff. Other people had plenty of time there, but not me. And gladly, most of my clients weren't there, which is great. That means they were knocking doors and not, rubbing elbows with people who can't vote for them. So that's important. So
Yeah, I think Dorchester is interesting. There's parts of it that can be good. And I think it's a lot more for it's not a working conference, as you've noted. It's unfortunately a place of many missteps, personal stories that I've
True.
heard of individuals who've made some mistakes there. Let's just put it
We
that
call
way.
those poor choices.
Poor choices, yes. So, but there are parts of it that could be good, and then sometimes it's boring. And I mean, I haven't heard from a ton of people. I did not go to Dorchester, but I've heard that that was how the debate was boring.
Yeah, I
Very
was.
similar to this live streamed ORP debate, and no
Yeah,
fighting.
I didn't even stay and watch it because we had to fly out Sunday morning. So Vicky and I, I actually did a training where, working with the Oregon Coalition. So I did a training on messaging, and we had a great group of candidates. Mostly the candidates are there, the ones that don't have primary opponents, or they're going to have a very tough general election. So it was really kind of focused on what is the messaging? We brought in our friends from Americans for Prosperity, and we had some other folks that really kind of came in and had a great panel of people talking about messaging. So that part was great. And that was the learning portion, I think, maybe the entire learning portion of the session that was going on. But, it's a place where I mean, Republicans don't really have a spot where we get together, right? I mean, you were there with me 4 years ago, and that was the last time I was there. So, and during the governor years, it seems like there's a little bit more buzz, right? With just obviously it's a governor's race, so there always seems to be a little bit more buzz during that time frame, and there definitely was some buzz happening. I think the debates, sadly, like that one, you would think they would have been able to get into a little bit more detail on stuff because I really feel, and we're going to talk about the poll that we conducted from Crosstabs, but I think it really does actually undermine the issue I believe that the Republican governor candidates have as a whole, is they haven't laid out or they're not talking about what is their plan for Oregon. And I've seen that with some of the editorials coming out from like the Oregonian and some other people that there just isn't, somebody that's taking that crown. And so clearly, that's going to have to, but maybe that's done on purpose, I think, in some cases. Like, why would you throw your best stuff out there if you're Christine Drazen and you don't want to give the ideas away to your opponents, and then it kind of gives, Kotek a lot of time to look into what you're doing and your policies that you want to put forth. So there is a lot of strategy involved in that. I get it. So, but it does make those debates woefully boring. And they even tried to bring in Walden to moderate the debate, and it was still woefully boring. So,
I think that one of the things about that, I've never understood the top secret plans strategy here, because if you have good ideas, they're just good ideas, and you should want people to hear them. You should not want people to hear that you have good ideas. You should want them to hear your good ideas. That's what I've always thought. And so I've always think,
yeah,
well, I have a plan is not good enough to earn somebody's vote,
agree.
usually.
Agree.
So I think that, people need to stop being so concerned about, well, is my, are my CNEs and my fundraising all top secret? Are my all whatever? No, if you're the best candidate, if you've got the best ideas, if you've got the best campaign,
Mhm.
tell people. 'Cause that's what's going to get them interested in you, is you making a claim and then proving the claim, not making a claim and then, well, you got to come along and see if it's true. That's what people think politicians do to them all the time, is lie to them and trick them and obfuscate and all these things. So you got to be direct. You got to be out there. If you have great ideas, great governing ideas, and you don't think and you think you're the only one that can do them, well then guess what? No one else is going to be able to steal your ideas. They won't be able to do them.
Uh, Reagan, I 100% agree with you. I think that if you got good ideas and you're running for governor, those good ideas should platform you out of the primary into the general, because our good ideas on the Republican Party should be ones that ultimately you have to run on those ideas versus getting somebody to vote for a Republican or vote for a Democrat in the general election against Tina Kotek, who only idea I believe so far has been more money, more money, more money. So, because everything for Democrats always comes back to more money and more programs. And I think that you could lay out an agenda that I believe against an agenda of more money and more programs and more money going to nonprofits who people just distrust now more than ever. is you could lay out an agenda, I think, that says, no, this is my plan, but it's got to be concrete and it's got to have real stuff. So with that, let's dive into the poll.
Yes, this is
Uh,
very exciting stuff. The first ever Crosstabs commissioned poll. It'd be fun if we get to do these every once in a while.
yeah, and I think the key to this one is it we commissioned it. It was done so completely nonpartisan. Not even, I really just, but I wanted more. So we actually dug deep. We went
All
all the
right, wait
way.
a minute, Brian. What do you mean by nonpartisan? Because we're both Republicans.
I mean,
We don't
there's
have
not
a
a partisan bent to it.
we don't have skin in the game in terms of the candidates.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
I'll go with you on that.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure people
Wait,
we're both Republicans.
and yes, we did only actually interview Republicans. Dudley might have
Right.
done better if we didn't. So
All
polling,
right.
we conducted the poll April 23rd, 24th, so very recent, like the end of last week. So,
Yes.
um,
After the first debate,
yep,
before the Dorchester debate. However, it was not live streamed, so voters couldn't tune in unless they went to Dorchester.
yep,
And Dorchester attendance was probably what, a couple hundred people.
yeah, at best. And
Okay.
then and then they did have a closed circuit and they streamed it, but that didn't matter because we already finished the poll by then. But we got to 620 Republicans. And it
Okay.
took a little longer to get because Republicans, it turns out, I actually did some other polling in some of my legislative races while I was doing some of this. Turns out some Republicans, Reagan, don't like to answer the phone. Or
I don't
everybody in
blame
general.
them.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's just a problem with everybody.
Yeah.
I don't. It might be Republican specific, but definitely it's been a challenge with
Yep.
polling.
And so we focused only on the three candidates because if you're not in the top three, you don't matter. So sorry, just the way the cookie crumbles in a governor's race, there's 14 or 15 running. And even based on the poll that we had JL on and talked about, I mean, you could almost make a case for David Medina because he got 7% in JL's poll, but you can't make a case like why Daniel Bethel should be included because she's just not, right? But it's clearly coming down to the three because Medina
Yeah,
has no money. I mean, if Medina even had a couple hundred grand, I probably would have included him because my analysis, which I'll include in this podcast, as well as literally we're going to release the entire crosstabs and the entire poll. So that's a full PDF, and everybody can download it and do what you want with it.
truly incredible stuff. I love when you can actually find the poll and the crosstabs in stories about the polling because I like to look at it myself. And a lot of these news outlets, they get the poll, they'll get the crosstabs, and then they don't publish either of them.
Yeah,
And I don't know if that's because of the agreement from where they got the poll or whatever, right? But
usually.
love to be able to publish that stuff. And yeah,
All right, so let's run through it.
absolutely.
So we just asked first the impression, right? Christine Dre, and these are randomly rotated. So,
Yep.
there was every time they call, they would change who goes first, second, and third. Christine Drazen has a 59% favorable and 10% unfavorable, 18% no impression. Usually I call those the liars. Um, the ones that don't want to say that they haven't heard of somebody because they feel like they should say they've heard of somebody. So really, 13% never heard of. That's like you could be living under a rock if you're a likely voter, but for Christine, I mean $20 million, but 13%, let's just use that as a number. That's really low
Yeah.
for a statewide primary candidate. A more typical statewide primary candidate is at Deal with the 29% favorable, 1% unfavorable. So everybody has a good impression of Ed. 21% have no impression, and 48% never heard of him. So he's trailing by 35% in that category.
And remember, that's among Republicans. So the
Yes.
the electorate that he needs to reach, he's got what, a week to get to
Yeah.
these people before they
Yeah.
start getting ballots, less than a week. And I think that is his biggest challenge. And as we look further on here, I think that's going to be important to note that 48% have never heard of a deal.
Chris Dudley, 33% favorable, 8% unfavorable, 31% no impression, which I think that's split between never heard of and heard of. Like, was he the basketball player or who I feel like I should have, I feel like I should have heard of him. And then 27% never heard of. Those are probably a lot of your newer Republicans, right? So,
Yeah,
you
that
can
makes
see that in
sense.
the crosstabs too. So there's your faves, unfaves. Christine lead by a wide margin with a 49%, net 49% favorability within the party. It's pretty strong, with Dudley at the worst at 25%. So that's a pretty decent. So then we said, which one, who'd you vote for?
If the
And
election was held today.
yep, yep. Christine Drazen 35%, Ed Deal 18%, Chris Dudley 14%, and then some other candidate 8%, which is what we just said. That's probably your David Medina and Daniel Bethel crowd, right? So, and 25% undecided. So we pushed pretty hard, and we made sure with the pollster that we were pushing hard with the follow-up is undecided. So that 25% category, um, we just said, or no, well, first we asked, would you change your mind? Like, could you change your mind? And in
Yep.
total, 58% said they could change their mind. So that's a pretty high number. That's not a really, 42% are solid. And those are about Christine and Ed's support, I would say, is about the same, roughly 50-50. And then Dudley's was very 74% said you could change your mind. So
Yeah, so
meaning,
this is anybody who chose a candidate, would you change your mind? And
yeah,
even for those three, obviously Dudley's is the worst at 74%. Yes, they could change their mind, which means Dudley's folks are the least stuck on to him
yes.
as a candidate, which is a huge problem
Yep.
for him. And that's probably part of why he is in third, right? And we could talk about what might be driving that. But then even with Deal and Drazen, I mean, up to half of their folks could change their mind. And I think that that's indicative of an environment where I think people either aren't enamored with the candidates or they are just thinking that this is not necessarily likely to be a Republican year. And so maybe they aren't bought in on these candidates because they don't necessarily think they can win. They're just picking who they think the best of the options are. I don't know that for sure, but that's a guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably in the neighborhood, as they say. So we did get in, and then we follow up harder with those undecideds, and we say, okay, so gun to your head, if you were forced, I mean, I don't think that was the actual question.
No.
Absolutely had to choose today, meaning it was like the final day and you were going to vote, right? Is kind of how you phrase it. Uh, 21%. So we got about half of the 25%. If you can do this, this might be my Bernie Sanders math. About half of the 25% committed their vote to somebody.
Yeah.
50% of those people still stayed undecided.
Right.
So, and then of those half that then committed, 21% said Christine Drazen, 7% Ed Deal, 10% Chris Dudley, and 8% stayed with some other candidate. So,
Mm-hmm.
so the 50%, so if you kind of do that, that tells me that, I mean, if I'm reading this poll and I'm in Christine Drazen's camp, I'm feeling really good about that because not only am I winning in the people that have been decided, it looks like my favorable unfavorables are good. And of the people pushed to answer, I'm destroying the other guys.
Yeah.
So, she's
Doubling them
actually
up.
gaining ground, right? So, and then if you add all that up, I mean, Christine basically is not even the front runner. She's the clear front runner.
Yeah. And again, I think she's run a very disciplined campaign, a very focused campaign. She's run a campaign that knows they're talking to primary voters. I mean, that's been one of the biggest issues, I think, is that sometimes these campaigns have not behaved like they're talking to primary voters. And I understand why you do that because you understand you have a general election, but you don't have a general election if you don't win the primary first.
Yeah.
And so I think she understands that and has understood that better than any of the other candidates in this race, except maybe Ed Deal. Um, I think Ed's biggest problem is he just doesn't have resources. He needs more resources to get his name out there. He needed to be in mailboxes. He needed to be on TV. I haven't seen him doing either of those things. Doesn't
No.
mean he isn't, but I haven't seen it. And so the likelihood that that's penetrating with a lot of other voters then is pretty low. Um, Christine's the only one who's been in mailboxes, and I think that that is a that's been great for her. I would not have expected her to go totally uncontested in mailboxes like she has. That's surprising to me.
Very surprising on that front. I think the other thing that has given her, well, clearly, I mean, being the previous runner, is important, and having and holding her favorability is pretty tough to do. I mean, a lot of times, Republican primary candidates have a hard time holding favorabilities when they lose because people just want to move on, right? You lost and they just want to move on. So she's held her favorability, which is good for her to do. And I think the biggest thing that helped her do that is she's had the longest runway.
Yeah.
Like she announced in November, right? First part of November, and she just said, "No, I'm going and I'm and Chris Dudley sat on his hands. Ed Deal was, to his credit, you could say he was working on the gas tax referral and putting that whole thing together. And then, but that was done in December. His best moment when he should have announced for governor should have been at the point of when he delivered the 250,000 signatures to the Secretary of State. And not only did I deliver these, I'm now running for governor because the biggest thing, like you said, he doesn't have the resources. I bet if Ed announces a lot earlier, maybe some of the Dudley stuff moves over to Ed. Maybe Chris doesn't even run. And I
Right.
feel like if there's an anti-Christine out there or just not enamored by Christine, that momentum probably goes to Ed Deal. Maybe the other two pick up a little bit in that scenario, and that would put Ed, I mean, if he got all of it, that puts Ed at 32-35. Then you got a toss up at that point. And
I think the rule is, and we've talked a little bit about this before, but the rule in the primary is announce first. Get out there first. Be the
yeah,
first candidate in the race. Get the advantage of being the first to declare, the first to fundraise, the first that's taking people's attention in that particular race to your name. And I think, and then Dreesen adds on top of that the fact that she's run before, and that gives her. My dog is moving, so he's pushing my computer setup around.
nice.
Uh, he's a decent lap dog, but he's very large. So if he moves, everything moves. And then having that on, she had the infrastructure. You can kind of just turn the switch back on the infrastructure, the big email list,
Yeah.
the team, the staff, knowing where to have all these events, the logistics of it. I mean, some of that stuff is complicated to get going the first time, and then it gets a lot easier. And so I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if they were kind of running this race a bit with their eyes closed, even as easy as it is. Now, I'm not saying that's what they're doing, but they probably could have.
I think, yeah, Ed's race to me, and I wrote this in the notes that people can read if they like to read, but I put it in the show notes, and I think Ed Deal to me is the most interesting number in this poll. I think we kind of followed up with what JL had, where it showed kind of where Christine was, probably showed her even winning by a few more points even. And it shows that Dudley basically he's flat. Like I probably wouldn't be surprised if ends up around 10%.
Oof.
I think his numbers are going to slip even more. To be honest with you, I don't think he can buy himself with all of that money. He can buy himself up because I think the momentum. Because what I wrote in there is like if you look at the crosstabs, you can get into it. Deal sits at 18%, but 48% of likely GOP primary voters have never heard of him. And then the ones that
Yeah.
like him, there's 29-1. So he doesn't have any unfavorables. So they hear him, they see him, and then 89% back him on the ballot test. So he's got his conversion rate, right, from that is really good. And I think that's really good for Ed, but without the money, he can do it. But if somebody infused $600,000 into his campaign in this last minute, which I don't see happening, it could make a difference. And if you see maybe a slowdown of people showing up to vote, like who votes could matter for him, but I just don't, based on the numbers, I just don't see. And based on what I'm seeing out there, I haven't seen all of a sudden an infusion of cash coming, but I think this is, in my mind, I put this as a Dre's and Ed deal race now. I think Chris Dudley is going to find himself down around. I mean, if he gets the double digits, I think he'll be happy, or not happy, but I think that's about where he's going to end up. So, and then the other thing that I really looked at in this is that the undecided block is staying resistant, and there is some. Maybe they just, and because of what you said, like nobody else is challenging in the mailbox, like they're kind of waiting to see if somebody can challenge Christine or if somebody's going to bring something that they're looking for. I don't know what that something is, but I think that's what they're looking for. And I did this really cool thing where I looked at like where are the undecideds? So that
Hmm.
was kind of my thing, is like, okay, where are they, right? And so if you really look, they're all eastern, mid-Willamette Valley, and southern Oregon have the most hard undecideds. So eastern Oregon and southern Oregon could really, and then mid-Willamette Valley, you'd think Ed would do pretty well. So I think even Ed could not go on Portland TV and do, if he targeted those 4-4 Republicans and kind of some of those regions that just don't know him yet, there's also a chance that, and he's picked up some decent endorsements out there from Todd Nash to, I think Mark Owens has endorsed Ed Deal. So he has a path. It's a narrow one,
Hmm.
but it's not through Portland or the metro area where a lot of the Republicans up there have probably decided, right? So I think his path, I think, is the most interesting one. And I would say, actually, now again, if I was on the deal team, I would say, okay, I have a path, and my path leads this way through Eastern Oregon, through Southern Oregon, through the Mid Willamette Valley. I would just leave Portland completely alone because it's Christine's home base. All the things those people kind of made up their mind based on what I'm seeing in the crosstabs is where are the hard undecideds, and
Well,
they're not in
the
the area in which these three guys are most typically known.
and I guess the question is because we talked about last time about how 80% of your vote is on that I-5 corridor. Is there enough vote out there to get him even close enough? I mean, I think he's got to do a combination of things, right? He's got to do that Eastern Oregon swing. He's got to shore up the Mid Willamette Valley. But then he kind of also has to go take that 50% who are currently voting for Drazen, or some of it, that 50%, but are willing to change their mind. And
Yeah.
again, you're not going to do that by not being in mailboxes, not being on TV. Maybe he's doing some texting that's targeted. I don't know what the plans are here, but I am shocked at the level of campaigning that is not occurring right
Yeah.
now. I am. And it feels like a race. And because of that, that's why it feels like the race is over. It would
Yeah.
feel more contested if I was getting Dudley and Deal and Dre's in pieces, if I was getting bombarded by texts, if there was an ad war. There just isn't one. There's no battle.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you. I mean, I'm seeing like I looked at it like, where is my path if I had to look for a path? My
Yeah.
path is
Yeah.
probably
And
with you
I think
for the
that's
matter of
reasonable.
time. I would be Salem to Medford and back and forth and everything in between.
Yeah.
Roseburg, Polk County, Lynn County, Douglas County and Jackson County. Like you could maximize your assets of hitting those. Lane County's got a lot of Republicans. You know what I mean? Polk County's up around Salem. Like I would hit
Hmm.
that area and just, that's his only shot at victory at this point. But I'm with you. I almost feel like they even know it's over. So I feel like we're
Right.
doing this for the sake of doing it because Christine has run, quite frankly, her campaign has been run the best. She's
Yeah.
done the right thing. She came out with her right to life. She came out with her two-way mailer. She came out with TV when she was supposed to drop TV. She's doing the campaign events around the state where she can. She's tried and tested. So what are they going to hit her on? So she's trying to beat them before they could hit her on anything. The only negative she has out there is Oregon firearms, who nobody gives a shit about anymore. So
Yeah.
outside of those guys, bitching and moaning about her, who again, nobody cares about Oregon Firearms Federation because they're pointless and a useless organization that means nothing to nobody. Um, I don't know. I would say victory's over.
Yeah. And I think also you can tell that the complaints about candidates you see on social media, again, as we talked about last time, do not translate into the real electorate. The real electorate doesn't care about that online stuff. They like what they've
No.
seen from all the candidates, but they like Christine the most.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And a lot of that's historical name ID, but that's you know what? I mean, that's kind of why you do this stuff again. Because you do get some of that historical name ID. Like you said, once you stop running and you go away, people just forget about you. Like you'd be like, oh, hey, who was your state rep 10 years ago? I don't know, 2% could probably answer that. Unless you're in Greg Smith's district. But outside of that, I mean, who would really
I
know
haven't lived here
anybody?
10 years, but it would have been Andy Olson.
Yeah, see, there you go. But I mean, a normal person, like you're not
Yeah,
normal.
I'm not
You're,
normal
yeah.
whatsoever. No, absolutely not.
You
Absolutely
could
not.
probably say who was in leadership and all the things 10 years ago, but
It starts to get fuzzy.
it,
But
it does.
I was talking with somebody recently about some of the different, leaderships and stuff like that, and it starts to get challenging. This good thing is during session I walk by the pictures every year. I should probably work on getting those every day. I walk by the pictures. I should probably start getting those minority leaders memorized, at least the Republicans.
Yeah, I think it's a thing. Well, anyways, there you have it. We'll put this out. We'll put out a press release too and send it to media, but everything that we have is now downloadable for anybody and everybody to digest. So we'll go from there.
Awesome. Cool project, Brian. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, I think we'll do a couple of them in the general, which might be kind of fun. So, for some of the
Absolutely.
really competitive races, it'd be fun to put some. We'll see. I don't know. The minority leaders might not want us to.
Hey, well, who cares what they think?
Well,
Um,
I do. I mean, don't. I mean,
I care
I
less.
enjoy working with them, but I think there's also something to be said for being transparent with things. And I think sometimes if you're down a little bit, like having a bad poll helps energize the base to, turn turn the tide and go and get up off their butt and go help you out, right? And sometimes we need that. So I think if we all think we're winning, that's not a good place to be either. So,
And we got to remember, Democrats have all this polling. They're all doing their polling. They know where these races stand as well,
oh yeah,
and they know how to deploy their assets. And we can't run the same kinds of campaigns they can run because they have unlimited manpower and money. So we have to find different ways to go about running the same races. And we have. We outperform a lot of these other states, Brian. I mean, you've seen a lot of these other states, and you see one thing that Oregon has done that a lot of these states haven't done yet. We have every Republican leaning district. There are some of these state legislatures where they still have blue dog Democrats that they haven't been able to beat in red districts. We beat
yeah,
every one of them. We have all of our red districts. So there have been things that Oregon Republicans have been able to do that other states haven't been able to do. But it's been winning these Portland Metro and some of the other contested races that have been a challenge in the last couple of years. So we'll see if
yeah.
we can turn that
I agree.
around. But we're gonna have to do it different. We can't do it like they do.
Yeah. Well, the biggest takeaway for me is in this polling and in the last couple of polls that we've seen, and then watching these campaigns play out. And this is just my final thought on it. And I like all three of these candidates. I know that probably all three of them don't share the same uh reversed with me. I have no idea, to be honest. I mean, because none of them are as honest as me. I believe that I'm honest, and I was kind of counting it out. Um, I see that there's a path based on the information given to me. I thought Dudley would do better. His first TV ad was decent. The boys and girls sports thing came out super flat. It's really not what people are talking about. You're not striking a nerve with Republican voters by Trump's already talked about it. Like federally, they're working on issues with it. Like it's not what everybody's talking about right now. That was like 2 years ago. We were all talking about that, but nobody's really talking about it right now. And I think
Yeah.
he just missed the mark again. And I think Dudley, if he would have announced in November, he would be in a way different place now. I think he would have been able to figure out and navigate his lane, but he didn't. He waited and hemmed and hawed, and then money can usually buy you into a race, but if executed poorly, you can almost fumble on top of it. And I think we saw the same thing with Betsy Johnson. You know, she spent $20 million in a general election, and you and I nailed it. Our over under in that race was 9%, and we were like right on the money that she was going to get about 9%. So $20 million buys you 9%. And I think that money doesn't always buy, it buys you an opportunity
Yep.
to change the voter's mind, but it doesn't buy you an actual ability to change their mind or their votes, right? So, anyways, that's kind of my final take on it.
I, hard to disagree with that.
Well, thank God. Hallelujah. Thanks, Reagan. Take care of that dog.
Yeah, Brian, don't waste too much more time in Nashville working.
I will, man. I'll be back. I'll be back Wednesday. And then we'll go,
Awesome.
and then we'll have these final primaries to the end. We'll see. They seem to be our legislative races are running out of money, and which they should be. They should be basically zero by the time they get done. So we'll do some more looking at that. See you, buddy.
See ya.